Opening video. And we are live once again. Is it 9:30 or am I late? Oh, right on time. Did I nail that or what? Um, okay. So today, let's take a look at some of the weather. And did I put a weather? I didn't draw up a weather. Sorry, guys. I'm just, you know me. Weather. Go with Environment Canada because we pay for that. We might as well be using it. And let's transition. Busy guys. Getting text messages. Can you believe that? Take a look at that. Nothing but sunshine do we see. So the weekend is going to be super cooking hot. Yeah, Saturday, Sunday, plus 11, plus 12 here in Banff. So that's just going to increase that sun crust on those solar aspects over the next little while. Those sun crusts have been pretty predominant wherever people have gone. Sun crusts or solar crusts or whatever you want to call. And on the north aspects, there's quite often, depending on the elevation, some melt freeze crusts people have been reporting. So if we go to Avalanche Canada, we can, let's just cover the Mount Stephen area first for these ice climbers. This is the thing here. These guys have reported in Guinness Gully. The first pitch isn't as picked out as it usually. I find that hard to believe. Freaking thing is a trail up that thing, so it's usually picked out 4, right? PO4 out of the scale of 5. So if you get just to remind people that you take 2 picked out grades, you have to subtract 1 grade from the guidebook. So if it's a grade 4, which it is, then now it is a 4. It's a grade 2. There's officially a grade 2, even though I don't know. It depends on how bad that last pitch is. Pro was decent. Second pitch has a nice groove in it. Usually does. Trends to the left a little bit, so be careful where you put your belayer. Yeah, it's got to be pretty straightforward. And then they said something about the having to dig around for screws on the last pitch. So that's not so bad. The avalanche conditions now are still reported to be, where are they? 3 times, we'll get that up. 3 times good. Oh yeah, ice climbers. Oh, look at this here. You know what this is? This is a temperature inversion. Yep. So up here in the sunshine where I am, it's like so this is where I am right now. This is Lake Louise that I'm at, and so you're looking around. See how clear and sunny it is? Beautiful. It'd be a great day to be out, wouldn't it? Read out Mount Redoubt behind me, and Redoubt Bowl is right in here. So you can ski down Corral, skin up into this bowl, and then ski back down. Come on down here. Crack her open like a high school kegger. Hit the valley and smoke a bowl. Anyhow, let's go back to taking a look at this with Parks Canada. Parks Canada for one more day is calling it 3 times low. And the only thing they're calling as a problem is the sort of wind slabs, or was it? Yeah, light wind slabs. New snow accumulation mounts different valleys. But the trigger would have to be something pretty dramatic, like a cornice or explosives. But likelihood of just something just coming down are very unlikely, just because of this 3 times low effect, and the that snow above the facet layer doesn't seem very reactive, or it hasn't proven itself to be very reactive. So, although they are going to downgrade it here quite tomorrow and then throughout Saturday to moderate. I wonder if they're doing that just because of the number of skiers that are coming out, or if they actually have a thing going on there. Let's take a look. What is the discussion on this? Snowpack. This is fresh snow, spotty, spidering squalls, most crusts. I have no new avalanche reported on No, nothing. So let's go back to Avalanche Canada. And I saw a pit. Oops. Where did I see that? Where were they? That's a report on right here. This is quite a good tour right in here. You guys done this? Yeah, this guy's reporting. Riding quality was okay. Snow conditions were powder, wind affected, and hard. They rode in the alpine steeps and the slopes, and they stayed away from convex rolls of slopes. The day was stormy. Sun crusts were more significant on north aspects than they expected. And I've heard that before too. Right, so Pope's Pass. And that is the Divide Creek Trail, which is right here. So you just go past Lake Louise. So here's Lake Louise down the highway. You just cross over, and there is a roadside pullout right here where the railroad tracks are. And then you can skin up across this valley and up this creek drainage. And it's actually not that bad. It looks kind of like it's going to be a lot of bush, but I guess the creek has drained it. And something like 2 and 2.5 meters snowpack right now in there, so travel should be really good. And most of the snow should be preserved just because of this aspect in here. This is almost true north, so even at that elevation should be some good skiing. If you haven't done it before, that would be Joe's pick of the week. You can't really see it that well, can you? Kind of over behind my back. There you go. So you can park here, skin up down here, come on up this valley. This basin is pretty cool. Let's get you another look at that from a different perspective. We will go to bang. There we go. Okay, so you would park right in here, right there. Let's get this. Keep forgetting that. So this is the ski hill over here. And you come along right at the divide. And there's the reason they call it Divide Creek, because one side of this is British Columbia. All the water goes to the Pacific. This somehow ends up in the Atlantic. And so you park in here, go up the valley, and you can see into this valley here. And this is Mount White, Mount Niblock. Sometimes this col has been crossed over and you can ski over into the other side. But you ski up into this basin here. And this is a pretty benign glacier, but it's not, no glacier can be completely trusted. But I would say if you're 2 meters snowpack, yeah, that thing's pretty tame. I went in there a few times. I never took a rope or anything, but don't quote me on that. And don't do what you do you, and I'll do me, all right? Yeah, so that's my pick of the week for ski touring. And Divide Creek, and then you just park right over here, right where there's a train pullout sort of thing. So you just come along Trans-Canada right, I think it's before that, right here, right there is where you park, right? See where the railroad tracks is? You can see that from the highway, and you'll see where this road is, and it pulls off into there. And then you can just go across the valley bottom, and it's not very long. River will be covered or frozen. And then one part of this is Jason Kenney country, and then this is British Columbia, hippie tea country. Awesome. That would be a good ski. I might do that this week. Actually, you know what I'm going to go do? I'm going to go climb the House of Sky with Avon the Raven in the Ghost. We're not going to have another chance. It's going to be nice and warm. We'll be able to climb it in t-shirts. The other thing I was looking at the other over. Oh, Mount Gordon in area. People, that really is starting to look good. So people are doing that that's a big day for me. Mount Gordon for a day trip. But if I was younger, if I was a younger man, which I'm not, I would probably go do this. So what are they? Went up. Excellent travel. It was -17 from the car. Excellent once the scoop is gone. Tons of exposed rock. Coverage is great. They're getting about on the glacier about 2.5 meters coverage, which is freaking awesome. That's above average for that snowpack up there. So that's a good thing. And then there's a series of photos. If you don't know the Wapta, like I know the Wapta, right, Mount Gordon, Olive, I believe, right? Belfer in the background. Yeah, lots of bones. So you can see the effects of the wind. So, those high winds that we've been having last week scoured these ridge tops. Bone clean. That'll be predominantly pretty much everywhere. Same thing that this over here is the west. So the predominant winds have been southwest and west. And this way is east. And so you can see how these are just scoured right off and deposited into these basins, which can be good or can be bad. Hard to tell about cornice build up here. Well, this puts it into scale though, doesn't it? Look, this is a skier. And it looked like he's not having a great time. This Scroogie, that's from the wind effect, right? So according to that guy's report, that was pretty punchy. Takes a little bit. Nice ski, eh? Right down the call. Wow. And conditions right now, man, I'd go in there. I'd take Avon in there. Well, I'm going up next week. I hope it's the same. We're going to go up. We booked out all of the huts. They're ridiculously expensive. but there's a couple other families there. But oh my God, you want to go there? When you know, you don't just get your hut fee anymore. You got to book the whole hut. What else you got going on there? So you can see some wind effect in there. Nicholas, the mighty Nick. Look at the slope, eh? This is the roll that's just above the hut. As you come down, you can see this line of tracks right there. Thompson, I believe. Oh, I'm not going to try to guess. Hey, a new waterfall there. I never seen that before. It's underneath this hanging piece of ice, though, and it's a long ways to go. But still, if somebody wanted to go in there, they could do it. So you can see more of the wind effect up here. Wind blowing through this. This is, we're looking to the east from here. So this is where I believe this is Olive. Or yeah, Mount Olive. I'm going to Mount Olive as long as Popeye don't mind. Somebody skiing down the roll. Nicholas in the background. A bit of sun. That's a nice picture. Some tracks coming off of Gordon. Gordon's a ski up. You can ski right to the summit on that puppy. There's, you can see some of the wind effect on up in the open glacier. Oh, this is what we call Swiss fall line, right? This is fall line. This is the way the Swiss ski. Well, there you go. So this would be pretty representative of the area right now as we speak. Looks pretty good, eh? Let's do that puppy. And what else do we got? The other stuff was looking, I don't know, pretty much the same. There's not much to talk about in the avalanche hazard. It is going to deteriorate. The skiing quality probably deteriorate over as these warm temps start to have more effect on the surface snow, that new snow that's blowing in. We have, what's going on here? Walked on Mount Gordon, skied it. There's a couple more pictures from another reporting party. Bang, look at them tracks. Skied, walked in a day, leaped the temps were -5 to -10 on the glaciers, but it was below 20 in the car. Well, the east face of Trapper Peak, eh? There was a point release on that, so the east face Trapper Peak, that would have been from the heat. So that's about it, guys. The conditions 3 times low. You can't really do much more with that. Things are going to deteriorate. I'm here again tomorrow. I don't work Saturday or Sunday. I got an office job now. And then, but hey, you know what we should do? We should do the Banff traffic report. You think? As you can see, once again, this was taken a couple of minutes ago, and the traffic is crazy in downtown Banff, so leave early, leave yourself plenty of time. Fresh skiff of snow is on the Moose Hotel right here, and you know, we got it, 1 car, no pedestrians. Everybody's gone to the ski hill by now, so either. And when I dropped Tyler off at school this morning, I go down this street, turn right over here. But there was quite a few skiers, I'd say about 100 or so, out of the hotel standing out front waiting for their buses. which will be, I think they'll have fun today. Certainly a beautiful day. Put on sunscreen, you guys. Time to start thinking about that, eh? Putting on some sunscreen. Hmm. And look at that. Once again, corner of Buffalo and Banff Avenue. That's Central Park over there. If you guys don't know the hood, this is where I bank. That's the guys that steal my money. And looking north from the other side of the bridge, Bow River is right here. This is the Bow River, which joins the Old Man, becomes Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan joins the North Saskatchewan and flows into the Hudson's Bay eventually. Which would be a nice trip too. Eh? Ever tell you guys about the time I canoed across Canada? I should do that. Not much going on. And that's about that for that. Live stream. All right, I got a few minutes here to talk about anything anybody wants to talk about. Ice melting. Talk about how to assess good ice or not. Can you climb ice in warm weather? Sun-exposed ice in warm weather. Can you trust ice screws? What do you think of the auto block Munter? Just found this yesterday. Thought it was neat. Jacob. Yeah, ice. How do you assess good ice? You know, the most depends, you know, if it's hanging ice, like a pillar or something like that, or, you know, steep vertical ice that's attached to rock. Right now, what we got is a lot of strong solar effect. And what I was talking about this yesterday was the sun will hit that rock. Now, if that rock is, or just if the ice is just hanging, like you know how in Louise Falls and other ice falls like Ice 9. Ice 9 was a place where a block of about several tons became detached, and one young lady was there watching her friend's ice climb. She was right underneath it, and it sort of did the Wile E. Coyote thing on her, unfortunately. So you have to be careful of that. The other ice flows, though, some ice flows, right? Like they're not falling water, and so they tend to be flows, and you can climb those until they're quite warm. Like Weeping Wall is one of those. Um, if you're on the left-hand Weeping Wall and the lower angle stuff, that's ice that flows, that builds up over top of itself. So you got the ice, and then the water flows up and up and up and builds out. A classic one like that is 2 O'Clock Falls, where you can climb that. It doesn't matter how hot it is. That's a seepage, a very active seepage, but it comes from whatever groundwater from above. So it's like 150 meters wide and 3 pitches long. But you can climb that right up until June and not have to worry about it. Assessing the ice screws. Ice screws are generally, if you're leading, depending on where you are, this time of year is you get direct sunlight. So on the Weeping Wall, in the morning it's fine. You know, the ice will be good and solid. But the direct radiation on the screws themselves will melt those puppies out in about 15 minutes. You know, you can make them, you can throw it in, screw it in. You can trust it for about 15 minutes, but usually by that time you probably, you know, you're still climbing and you're throwing in a couple more screws. The second, you know, as the sun comes around and hits those ice screws, they don't have much of a lifespan. The second will be able to come out lots of times, and you just pull them out, right? They blow the ice core out because they're just sitting in water. And that will be starting to happen this weekend because of those high temperatures that we're getting. Not much you can do about that. Ice generally, unless the hanging ice is the only thing you got to worry about with a solar effect. Pillars are a little softer, and they sort of have their own reaction, but pillars tend to crack and do dramatic things when it's relatively cold, as opposed to when things are warmer. So the pillar itself has, you know, the ability to take in a little more energy of the swing and less likely to crack shear across. But you notice what happens when pillars when they're in sub-zero temperatures, right? You see the columns like Curtain Call and those ones at Johnson's Canyon and stuff like that. The ice gets very tensile, starts to condense on itself, and if it doesn't fall over, I mean they'll break right off because it gets so tensile that they can't support their own weight, and then they'll drop. So if you get a ton of ice, if it's unsupported, if the column is supported and touching the ground, quite often what happens is they pull themselves apart, and then it just stands there like a Roman column with the rest of the building blown away. So you won't even know that sometimes until you climb up, and then you can look at a crack goes right across the whole top of the column. You don't even know that. I've also been on Louise Falls on the pillar too when it's settled, right? So it had cooler temperatures and it would crack, and then I was like, oh, bang, and it's the most terrifying thing because you got screws in the pillar. So if that ice falls off, even if you're above where the crack is, it's that thing is going to pull you right out of there. And so it should be all over but the crying. So yeah, I don't know. It's that time of year where you get the sun effect. You got to play it by ear. So just watch out for the overhead hazard. The other thing that's going to be affecting you guys soon is wet slides in the afternoon. So my suggestion to you is like just get your ass out of bed, get in your car, drive, start doing the approach by headlamp. Crack that climb open like it was a high school kegger, and then hit the valley and smoke a bowl. Other than that, not much I can say. Other than just be careful, play it by ear. If you have to ask, you want to be fairly cautious. So hanging vertical ice, not such a good thing. Ice that forms in layers upon itself that's less than vertical, where it just forms and the seepage goes over and it builds itself out, those aren't going anywhere. Ice screws themselves, if they're direct sunlight, you can protect that and prolong that life of the ice screw by taking snow, if you have that available to you, and you can cover the head of the ice screw, right, and the carabiner, and that will make actually the ice screw last quite a bit longer than if you leave it to direct sunlight. Direct sunlight's the killer on those things. The other thing that makes it effective is if you're hanging off the screws themselves, your weight transfers as heat to the screw. So you can literally see the screws start to melt out if you're hanging off of an anchor. If you're at an anchor and you're getting direct sunlight, of course you cover the screws as best you can. But if you're on a steep semi-hanging anchor, then yeah, that's an issue. What you do is just like replace the screw. So you just tap it or drill in another one, transfer it, take that one out. And you might have to do that a couple times depending on how long your partner is on the pitch. And Jacob O'Connell, what do you think of the auto blocker munter? I'm not sure what you're talking about there. No, the munter. Do you mean the using something like a prusik cord with a prusik or something like that, pulling it up? I don't know. I need some more clarity. I tend not to use. I tend to use the things that I've been using because they just work, right? Last 35 years so far, 35, 40 years. Has it been that long? Jesus. Oh, watch. Oh, I see what you're talking about. Is that called a munter dough? Isn't that what's it called? Alpine clutch. God, getting old is a terrible thing. For you ice climbers also, too, I'm going to mention this one more time. This, behind me, what you see is a temperature inversion. So I'm sitting up in the sunlight. It's nice and warm, feeling it. It's good. Down in the valley, it could be 15 below. And you're thinking, oh, hey, the world is great. It's all froze together. I'm going to climb under this big bowl. This has happened before, and it's common on Mount Wilson. A few of those climbs in there have caught people, and we've had some fatalities from that. But one way to get around finding out if you have an actual inversion or not is before you leave to see what the air temperatures are at higher elevations. And if the valley is colder than the summit, that is an inversion. Because typically speaking, the valley should be warmer than the summit because temperature, as you get higher, right? You go up in elevation, the temperatures should be getting colder, you know, whatever, for every thousand, a couple of degrees for every 1,000 feet. However, if you have an issue, you can do something like this. Where is Avalanche Canada? I need you. There you are. Bosworth. Okay, so we go to Bosworth. Has a this can work for the say the Mount Dennis field climbs and stuff like that. So you transition here, just get rid of this, Skin and Scully Ice. And this is the upper Bosworth elevation, 2,700 meters, temperature's minus 16 today, just right now, right? So now let's compare it to the lower Bosworth, which is at, is lower Bosworth? Yeah, lower Bosworth. And this is at 2,200 meters, 500 meters, so 1,600 foot difference. And the temperatures are minus 13. So that's not an inversion. That's a normal temperature fluctuation. So you may want to keep that in mind. There's an awful lot of information too on that avalanche page. I mean, mostly you can pretty glean a lot of stuff off of there, right? Take a look at that. This will be useful for you guys who are doing a lot of ski touring, because now a lot of guides are reporting on conditions. So let's take a look. I'll show you what I'm gonna. I want to know here, and this looks like it's West Nile, is it? Waptit Peak. Gotta make sure where we are. Kootenai, Yoho. Pulpit. That's yeah, in the West Nile area. Elevation. So these are skiers and ski tours that are submitting to the avalanche program, and you can take that. I mean, it's useful information, but it just depends on who's reporting it, is how much you can extrapolate on that. Guides are reporting more and more all the time, and from what I've seen, it seems like pretty experienced ski tours. Solar effect on south aspects were less than favorable. That's no big surprise, with a sturdy crust of under 10 centimeters of new snow. This was easily avoided by crossing the ridge to the northeast aspect. Like north aspects at, I don't know, 2,000 meters would probably be pretty good. I've heard it has been anyhow. And then there was another one here. So there's another one. Let's compare it to this one here. Who's this? Pulpit for 5. Day, considering how warm it was last week. Anything remotely south-facing was very crusty. That is going to be a fact. Even the north aspects, though, are catching people by surprise because it's just so warm that there's a layer of melt freeze in there. So that can throw you off a little bit and cause some damage if you're not careful every once in a while. If you kind of like you're skiing along and then suddenly you get down to a certain elevation and that melt freeze shows up, you got to throw a little caution to the wind there. That is about it. Let's take another look at see what we got. Not quite a Garda or Alpine clutch, no worries. I just found it, thought it was neat. I just I'll bring that book tomorrow. One of these guys from the States, a guide, wrote a book for guides. At first they sent it to me and I'm looking at this thing, I'm going like, what the? No, no climber's going to understand this. This is complex stuff. I had meat scratching my head for a while. And then I looked at it, oh, I wasn't intended for the average person. It's intended for like senior, um, uh, or people who really know what they're doing, because it's some fairly complex systems that are involved. And it's funny because they found some solutions to some things that I've always had problems, like, and I'm not going to say what they are because I'm kind of embarrassed by how easy the solution was. But I'll give the guy a plug because it's a really good book for senior rescue skills and stuff like that. And I'll be sure to throw it in tomorrow and throw some links in the show notes. Hey, great to see you. Hey, Gustav. Where are you from, Gustav? What are my thoughts on the Daimler and the Kevlar cordelettes? I think people overthink that shit. It's like those things are so damn strong. And they go like, well, yeah, but it melts under this and blah, blah, blah. And then you try and find a situation where that would actually happen. It's like being hit by a ray gun from space by the first alien, and they happen to pick you to shoot first just to show that that ray gun would work. So I don't know. I don't overthink that things, and I don't, I just use the standard materials. I know that they're super strong, but they have a lower melting point, one end or the other. But I don't know what I would do that would cause it to melt, because I don't never run cord on cord, and I always put a carabiner or some sort of metal link in there if I'm going to wrap op it or something like that. Not necessarily if I'm going to wrap op it, I'm fine if I got to leave that behind, but I don't very often. So I don't. Yeah, Sweden. Ah, are the girls as pretty as they say they are? Are they like? Are the movies exaggerating? But yeah, I don't. You know what? I don't overthink it. I just use the cords that I have. Um, I use an awful lot of double length slings for anchors. And I carry, when I'm ice climbing, I carry, I've got at least 3 of them because I'm one to sling icicles and stuff. What I have a habit that works really well for me because it is, how you get like the wall and there's something behind the ice, there's an icicle coming down, it's a bit of a sheet, but it's kind of thin. And if you can just punch with your ice axe through there, I can throw a cord through there, wrap it, and clip my rope with a carabiner, like hook it around. And that takes me seconds to do. And so I carry a couple extra slings just for that reason, in case I want to or need to get a little extra pro. And so it saves me putting in an ice screw, saves somebody taking out an ice screw, and it's bomb-proof protection. Takes seconds to use it. So, but some people just, whatever. That's the thing. You're ice climbing, you're thinking you got to use ice screws all the time. There's more natural protection out there than you think if you just looked around, used your head a little bit. Anybody got anything else they want to know about? Sun exposed ice, warm weather. I think we covered that. Emil Seilenhag. Emil, are you from Norway? I think you are, aren't you? Huh. All right. What's my time? 10:08. I'm running over, guys. It gets too long here. I'll be back tomorrow. We will look at some of the other conditions and temperatures. What's this? Parks Canada. So I was looking through the Reddit site. Nothing in there worth talking about. There's an anchor. See, here's the kind of place I was talking about, right? So something like this here, if I could just punch through here, I could probably sling an icicle. See if we can find any more of this. Wasn't that cute? Where's this guy from? Looks like Eastern Canada, maybe Minnesota. The an example of technique that you probably don't want to use. A little snowy. Lug the gear to Boulder, Zealand Falls. How do you check stability of a pool of water? Under the water. How do you check stability of a pool of water under the waterfall? Good question. Well, you got to remember, moving water, you know, it can be pretty damn cold, but as long as the water's moving, the ice isn't going to get that thick. Check this out, eh? Expert's choice. I used to live in Waterton. And this is in Waterton, southern Alberta, Waterton Park, right butts up against Glacier. And this thing doesn't form that often, but when it does, it's looking good. Usually this thing is only in for, a prime like this for a couple of weeks. Because this is a true south aspect here. So I can guarantee you this isn't standing. This was shot maybe 2 weeks ago during that cold snap. And then by the end of, if it's still there, it'll be gone by this weekend and it will not form again. Guy's like doing a good job of it though, eh? Not overprotecting, but protecting himself. Just put in another screw there. And the crux is up here. I remember this being quite a good, I've done this a few times. But it doesn't have that much traffic on it, doesn't look like, eh? We didn't expect it. The traffic, the picked out stuff sort of stops at grade 4, 5. This is a 6, solid 6. Anyhow, hasta luego, amigos. And we will see you tomorrow, eh? Okay, I'm here every day, Monday to Friday, 9:30 Mountain, here in Canada. So if you haven't heard A enough, this is a place to come and get it. If you want to work on your Canadian accent, I can help you with that too. And let's go. I can take 2 more. I don't use the auto block munter. It's not really a substitute for a Garda. If you're blaying the extra locker interfaces, and it isn't necessary because you always hold the brake strand. Thanks, Eric. Eric, you are the man. I'm not sure I use it either. I'm prone to sketchy behavior. All right. Good job. Good job, crowd. Good job, audience. Good job, Joe. Thank you. And we go.